Hello everyone, welcome back to E20 Zone TV. I hope everyone's had a very, very good Monday. This club, West Ham United Football Club, never fails to surprise me ever, at any time. To my right is Jay. Jay, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm all right. Another Monday in the books, another crap West Ham performance behind us, and another Monday where we're talking about a bid for John Durán. I am so done with this club. I'm so done with the January transfer window. I can't wait till next season already. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate, but Phantom Bid FC, that is what we are, right?
Yeah.
If anyone believes that £57 million gets John Durán out of the club, yeah, it ain't happening. It's just simply not going to happen. This board drives me mental, and this is why I've got the severe hatred for the board, because they could have done this in the summer. They could have put that, if they put that bid in the summer, Phil, think about it 100% and probably let him go for that fee. They've got him under control now because he signed a new deal till 2030. So there's no way they're letting him go unless they get the 70 million that they want. I don't even know where to start, mate, on this one. I really don't. Do you know what I mean? This started on Saturday. Like, what do you make about Saturday?
It was honestly such a snooze fest. It was so poor. I had to sink a skin full of beer just to get through it. Shout out Lucas. I had a couple of beers with Lucas before the game. Yeah. Then I had a few more, and then I had one at half time, and I'm glad I did because it's the only way I managed to survive through that game. It was a weird lineup. You know what? I've not seen any reaction to it because I went and sunk a skin full after the game as well. I haven't seen any reaction to the game. I haven't watched anything back. I remember thinking at the start it was a strange lineup. We set up to try and match them in terms of formation, but they're a side that's in good form and we're a side that's not, and we're a side that is far from our best starting lineup. So I was a bit confused by it, to be honest. It was as uninspiring on paper as it was to watch. We had zero creativity in that side. The midfield pair of Alvarez and Rodriguez is still just like a thing of nightmares. Pushing Souček further up the pitch, it hasn't worked. It didn't work under the last manager. It didn't work on Saturday. We desperately need a striker. We really, really do. I ain't going to dig anyone or anything out. I'll maybe mention Mavropanos for just being a complete moron. But that's not his fault. We know what his limitations are, and he showed his limitations again. It was just it epitomized everything that A, we're short of in terms of the squad, and B, we need to probably deal with until the end of the season and give part of the chance. And the guy that I'm sure going to talk about soon, who we've now agreed to get from Chelsea, and to give them the chance to actually start building the squad in their own name. So yeah, it was everything I kind of expected it to be, honest, mate. It was just not good.
Saturday night, I was completely pissed off. I'm not gonna lie. People were still going in on Potter to a point, and to them people, get yourselves out the fucking bin. Yeah, what can the man do with no tools at his disposal? Do you know what I'm saying? He needs machinery, and he's got fucking tools, hand tools at best. So I don't get why people are going in on him. I see people saying about the youth coming in, but I'm going to be straight and I'm going to be honest. Orford's not ready. He's simply not ready. And people going, yeah, we've got to play him. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. We ain't got to do fuck all. We've got to go out and buy some players, right? And buy some quality players at that. So Orford, for me, needs to go out on loan. Scholes is ready to rock and roll. Yeah, that's a start. He's a very, very good player. And then, I'm not being funny, some of the shit I've seen over the last sort of 12 hours in regards to Tim Steidten love affair, right? This is what I've been saying for ages, yeah? When you go out and buy a fucking 18-year-old Brazilian, and now we're bidding £57 million out for Durán, this is what we should have done in the summer. We should have made sure we got Durán in, and then if you bring in a sort of wonder kid at the end of the window, it's all great. It baffles the life out of me at this club, and I'm going to be straight. Some of the fans in this club baffle the fucking shit out of me, really do, because I don't understand what they want and what they're trying to get to a point. Let's get to that comment there from George. I'm pissed off with the game, but I'm glad the little shit Sullivan can't think Potter can keep working miracles with this squad. Well, one thing I will say is that Sullivan has backed himself into a corner now, ladies and gentlemen, because now we know he's got £57 million to spend in this January window. So what do you make of that? Well, what do you make of the current situation now with Durán?
So let's just look back to the summer very quickly. I can't believe we're still talking about this in Big 2025.
I know.
By the way,
it's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's mental, isn't it? Yeah. That's the point. Is like I would have been so much happier if we'd moved on from John Durán. If I cast my mind back to the summer when we were bidding, and they said they had upwards of 40 bids for him, and we put in what we thought was a good bid. Goalposts got moved. They wanted 40 mil plus add-ons, which I remember thinking at the time it's too steep, and we should move on, and we did move on. Hindsight is 2020, and hindsight is the reason that I'm not in that chair and I'm sat here talking to you. And the club employs people to make those calls, because we probably could have got. I don't think it would have taken the bid that we've just supposedly made, to get him. I think we could have got him if we'd have stuck at it. But 100%. They clearly moved. They moved the goalpost last minute to put us off, basically. Yeah. So they did mug us around a little bit. But the reason that we employ certain people is to make the big calls at that club. There's a reason that I don't make those calls. I can just give you my opinion, and we don't have all the facts, do we? So
true.
You fast forward to where we are now. We've made the mistake. Clearly, the funds that we would be using to cover that difference will be from us shipping Luis Guilherme out to the Middle East, if that deal was to be completed, which means we've cost ourselves 6 months and spent the money on the visa for Luis Guilherme, and spent a lot of time just putting him in training camps, effectively. And now we're trying to rectify that mistake. There's so many angles to look at this. First of all, I think that we all know that it's just not going to happen. Like there's no way that they sell him for that amount of money. I don't think there's any way that they sell him for less than like 70, 75 mil plus add-ons. And he's not worth that. Like, let's be honest, he's not worth that to us, but to Villa, he is worth that. Because as you said, they've locked him down. They've got him in a long-term contract. They've given him a big signing-on bonus to say, look, you're the future of this club. He's agreed to it. So why would they sell for less than 70 million quid? It's a waste of everyone's time. It's going to get the fan base excited about a player that we have no chance of signing. We didn't have any chance of signing him in the summer because we made the wrong call. We don't have any chance to signing him now. I'd sooner we go and just go, right, well, let's just go and get someone like Yuri Alberto from the Brazilian league. I'm not going to say that I know a lot about him, but he's a player for a reasonable price who we could go and get now. And we need bodies in the door now. So I would sooner we did that, personally.
You ain't got to do that. Go to France. It's a fucking hour on a plane, and go and get Jonathan David and Angel Gomez. If you're prepared to drop 57 large on John Durán, why are we not bidding for Jonathan David and Angel Gomez? Why? Is it because they've got 6 months left? That's bollocks, if that is the case, because in 6 months' time, when they're a free agent, they can go anywhere, right? We've got to make Lille force their hand and say, you know what, we might have to sell these lads because the offer's too good to be true, and the money is there now. Jonathan David's sitting there. Like, I don't get it. And like, even today, this £57 million bid, right? Are you telling me they've rung up Villa and said, Villa, how much do you want for fucking John Durán? And Villa have turned around and said, right, we want 70 million minimum. And Sullivan's gone, no, I'll give you 50 and £7 million add-ons. Honestly, this club is like, it just doesn't make no fucking sense, Jay. I don't know why. Like the John Durán thing is just never escaping us. It's just never escaping us at the minute. It's like every sort of 3 months we're going back there again. Do you know what I'm saying? And there's people like Jonathan David, who we've been linked with, who we could probably get. I'm going to be straight, yeah? And all it's about, he's on 300 or 400 grand. Says fucking who? Yeah, he ain't playing for fucking Real Madrid, right? And Bayern Munich ain't going to sign him, not when they've got Harry Kane up front. So he ain't going to want 300 or 400 grand. He's on about 40 or 50 grand at Lille currently right now. He's not on a lot. For me, just go and fucking put a bid in. Like, we've been chasing the geezer down for fucking years. Ever since I've done YouTube, we've chased fucking Jonathan David down. And he's sitting there and we're going, no, what we're going to do, we're going to go and put a £57 million bid in, which we all know isn't going to happen. That's the problem, right? It's okay going and putting a bid in. It's like you, Jay, having an house, right? And you want 500 grand for your house. And I'll come along and say, you know what, Joe, I'm going to give you 200 grand for it. You ain't going to accept it. Do you know what I'm saying? Well, you know that you want $500,000 for your gaff. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm talking bollocks. But for me, I just look at the common sense of this one. I feel that this bid that's come out today is just another smokescreen from our fucking ownership. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, the news come out today about obviously Carl. Is it Macaulay? Is it? And then you have like
Macaulay,
and the Tim Steidten thing. What are you saying about that situation? Because I thought that was about three things to that happen.
yeah. I mean, look, I'm actually a little bit surprised that we've done this now. I would have thought we would have waited to the summer to get Carl Macaulay out of Chelsea, especially with just over a week. He'll have about a week to try and piece our transfer window together. We've obviously not necessarily made any moves as of yet because we've obviously been working on this in the background. And Potter clearly, I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but my interpretation of this is that Potter doesn't necessarily trust Steidten. Potter probably has looked at the squad that Steidten built in the summer and gone, Jesus Christ, I don't trust this man to spend any more money. Is the way that I infer it. I might be wrong, and he clearly wanted his man and has had the conversations to say this squad ain't good enough. You've bought X, Y, Z, A, B, C, who I don't have in my plans for next season. Let me bring some people in for me. So Kyle Macaulay is obviously the first piece of that puzzle. And I think it tells us a couple of things. One, the squad is probably in worse shape than he expected it to be when he came in. And two, that this is, I think we've said this probably 2 weeks ago. We were having a similar conversation.
Yeah.
That the exit of Tim Steidten is just gradually being engineered. And if he makes it as far as the summer, I'll be surprised. The question is, so Kyle Macaulay is like a head of recruitment analysis. He's a head of recruitment, but he's not a director. So the question is, and the thing that concerns me a little bit is obviously Tim Steidten is on his way out the door. You're going to have to replace Tim Steidten with somebody. Kyle Macaulay's not a Tim Steidten replacement. He does a different job, but he has more of an emphasis on data. So the AWS partnership and the scientific data-based approach is typical of what Brighton did in the past. Hence, we've got Kyle Macaulay and hence we've got a lot of Brighton coaching staff and playing staff and along those lines. So you're going to need somebody who is comfortable working in that model. Tim Steidten, I don't think is that guy. As much as he's brought in the likes of Maximilian Hahn, I think he brought his brother in as well. Who are meant to be like data or recruitment analysts. Clearly, they still work in the Tim Steidten way of doing things. So we're going to need people that work in the Kyle Macaulay way of doing things. So I think my concern with this, first of all, I think it's good news. But my concern with this is if we then don't replace Tim Steidten, it's still David Sullivan who's going to be making the calls. And you can give him all the data in the world. You can lead a horse to water, can't you? But you can't make it drink. So that's my only concern. We have to replace Tim Steidten with somebody who can work in that way and who can manage upwards better than Tim Steidten has, because that's his biggest failure for me.
Can I ask you, what's your thoughts on Tim Steidten? In general, because I just feel that it really, really winds me up with the Tim Steidten thing, because I remember everything from last year. And I mean everything. I remember going through the motions of being told that we're going to sign a top manager and he's going to do this, he's going to change the game for West Ham and everything. And listen, it hasn't worked out like that, and I understand that. But I do feel that people have got this thing with Steidten, which is just unhealthy, mate. It's quite sick, really, if I'm being honest, right? That you've got a man that you praise up who doesn't do a lot. Like, he's the one who delivered us Mavropanos, right? It ain't no David Moyes. It ain't no Sullivan. He was the one who delivered us Mavropanos. He's delivered us this window. The Lewis Guilherme thing irritates me because you're hoping that the kid's going to come good. But what are you saying, Jay, on Steidten, mate, as a whole?
I think the phrase I'd use to summarize Tim Steidten is style over substance. And what I mean by that is, so I was, for one, when Steiden's come in, he starts making some pretty cool transfers. Again, we can debate who signed what player. People love to attribute different players to different people for signings. I'm not really interested in that. But he come in, he got some deals done. He's a good negotiator. And I was excited personally to see a new approach, an approach where David Sullivan didn't have as much influence over what was going on off the field, an approach where you had somebody whose main job was to go out, source the right players for the right price, and kind of get David Sullivan to step away, work closely with the manager, and try and repair some of the damage that was done from before Moyes was at the club. Because I remember Moyes coming in and saying that the recruiting staff was like the worst he's ever seen. We had one scout in the whole of the club. That's how bad we were. So you've then had Moyes, who's been building it in his vision. which worked. Let's be fair. What he did, it wasn't always popular. He was very slow in a transfer window. He signed some aging players, and a lot of people will say that he left an aging squad when he left the club, which is fair to say. But at the same time, the whole idea behind Steidten was that he worked closely with Moyes, and he ended up conducting himself so poorly that Moyes banned him from the training grounds, banned him from the touchline, banned him from the dressing room, which is one of 2 times that's happened to him, which kind of tells you everything you need to know about the way that he conducts himself. The more that I saw him in front of the camera, the more confused I was about what he's actually trying to do. We've talked extensively about him in the dugout. Sorry, not him in the dugout. Him in the tunnel before the Spurs game, which was really not acceptable as far as I'm concerned. And then you look at the transfer window that he served us up. Again, there's some signings that I was very happy with. There's some things that I could see the vision at the time. But as time's gone on, and you look at, let's talk about Jean-Claire Todibo, a player that I actually like in terms of how he plays football and in terms of the potential that he brings to the club. But you look at the injury history of him. You look at the character of the player. Yeah. Why are we signing a guy who has had an injury since he was a child? That means that he's quite injury prone, and who fell out with his last manager and then has fallen out with the first manager he's had at West Ham, and now he's back in France for the next month or so. That's a huge. Yeah, that's a huge problem that you could go and spend £40 million. And whilst I'm happy with the way that he got the deal done, and this is the difference when I say style over substance, the way he persisted with that deal. So you can park his talent ID and look at how he conducts his negotiations. He's a brilliant negotiator, but in that role, you have to be more than just a good negotiator. You have to have good talent ID. You have to make the right calls. You have to manage upwards as well as you have to manage the head coach. And he's done none of that. He's a great negotiator, but his talent ID is very, very questionable. So that's why I would say style over substance. And it looks like, his time's coming to an end, and we have to go out and replace him pretty quickly, I'd say.
Listen, I agree. With me, I give people a chance, and I don't sort of praise someone up unless they do something. If you do something good, I will sit here and I will praise you up to the hill, and I will consistently praise you. And I like anything to do with E20, I will praise up any other channel that I believe is doing well, and I'll give them the credit where credit's due. With the Steidten thing, I'm going to be straight, and people ain't going to like what I'm going to fucking say, but fuck them. That's what I'm going to say on that, is that they hated Moyes so much, they believed that Steidten was going to come in and change the game. And it just didn't matter what happened. Steidten was going to do this, Steidten was going to do that, Steidten was going to do the other. And they did not sit back and go, well, let's wait and see what this geezer actually does. And all the words that we heard last year is, oh, look what he done at Leverkusen. Look what he does at Leverkusen. Who gives a fuck what he does in Germany? It's what he does here at West Ham United, right? I don't give a fuck if he built fucking a team of well beaters in Germany. It's what he does for West Ham United. And that's exactly how it's gone. I think the Luis Guilherme transfer at the time, I remember doing spaces and I said, it don't feel right to me. It feels like they took a punt on this geezer because he couldn't find anyone out in Brazil and he had been out there 3 times. Yeah. We've had so many targets slip through our grass for strikers. Hugo Ekitike, remember him? Yeah. Anyone remember him? Right, he was a player that was linked with West Ham consistently. Yeah, PSG, currently plays for Frankfurt, I think it is now, or Stuttgart, one of the two. We could have had him, but we didn't. We kept going after fucking people in Germany, and, it just wasn't going to wash. So, I've let that out. Let's get this man in, and it's Clive. Clive, how are you doing, son?
Yeah, I'm all right. You? Well, I might be better than you, to be honest.
Mate, honestly, I'm going to let you land on anything you want to say. So you take it away. Go on, mate.
All right. So I was listening to you about, Jonathan David and Mr. Gomez over in Lille. But the thing is, 6 months left on their contract. Our season's done for. It was the moment we exited the FA Cup. Let's be realistic. And they can sign for anywhere in the world as of this window, because it's 6 months before their contract ends. So even if we put in 20 million, Lille could accept it. Doesn't matter if the players don't want to go. If they've got offers elsewhere already that might have come through, right, we'll just end up with egg in our pants anyways. So ultimately, it doesn't really make sense. The only downside is we look like idiots as it is, because we decided to stick with a 34-year-old who was already getting more injured and he was already 34 in his final year of his contract. Over spending an extra 5-10 million on a player that was under 21.
Yeah, but what's more progressive here? Let's be honest, right? And I'm going to bring Jay into this. Yeah, what is more progressive? Keep going after the same man over and over again when you know that Villa hold all the keys to the door.
They hold all the keys, but ultimately Durán will be pissed because they've signed another striker for 20 mil. So where does that sit in now?
I get that argument, but the problem is Villa have got this man under lock and key for the next 7 years, or no, 5 years, whatever it is.
5 years.
Yeah, so it's the next 5 years. So do we just sit here and go every window another bid for Durán, another bid for Durán? It shows more promise to me right now if we go right. Okay, right, we've tried for Durán. If it is true, if the bid is actually true, and it isn't a phantom bid from Mr. Sullivan. If we was to go and put £45 million double bid in for Jonathan David and Angel Gomez, I know they're free in the summer, but the point is that we will be more able to get them now rather than in the summer. That's the point.
Not really, because they could sign for any club around the world as long as it's not their own league as of now. They can sign on a dotted line today, but they can't join until June.
I get that, but the problem is with that is if Lille look to cash in, a club would have to come in and match whatever West Ham put in. That's the difference.
True,
like, you know what I'm saying?
True, but we could still end up wasting time. That's the point. I would rather, if we didn't buy Durán, rather, there's no point in us buying anyone this season. We're not going to get relegated. The season is done for. You always pay for more money for a player in January, with the exception of probably Durán will go for whatever price Villa are now going to set him at, regardless of if it's January or in the summer, because ultimately he's signed a new contract. He's proved he's worthy. The only difference is Villa have already said and held their hands up going, we think he's good, but we're going to stick with Watkins and we're going to sign a striker that we think is more willing to play less minutes. And that's what they've done ultimately. And they've already basically gone to the public, hey, we're going to get rid of him, but we have signed him on a new contract. So if you thought we weren't going to accept 50 million, well, if we were going to accept 50 million in the summer, we ain't going to accept 50 million now because he's guaranteed to stay at the club, regardless of what the club do, even if it pisses off the player.
Yeah. Jay, what are you saying?
A couple of things on that, because I fall somewhere in between the pair of you, to be honest, because I think there is a solution here that we never do this. So I don't know why I'm going to suggest something sensible, but like because Clive's 100% right. Like they can sign a pre-contract right now. So if it's me, I'm going all out to try and get them on a pre-contract this month and try and say, look, this is the reasons that you should be signing for West Ham next year. This is what we're doing behind the scenes. This is how we're going to look next season. This is the vision under the new manager. Because I've said there was 3 players that I've said for weeks and weeks and weeks that I'd want us to sign on free transfers, but 2 of them were those guys and Kyle Walker-Peters as well. If you've got those 3 on free transfers next summer, you've got a head start in rebuilding your squad next year. You've got 3 players who walk straight into the first team, in my opinion. So if it's me, I try big to get those guys on pre-contracts. And then you've got 2 things that you can do in the meantime. Then you can go to Lille and say, look, they're joining us anyway. Do you want to keep them for the rest of the season? Or we'll give you a bit of cash to send them over our way now. If they say no to that, then I actually agree with Clive. And I say there is no point in signing him for the rest of the season. Go and get somebody on loan. I've said before, and I'll say it again. I still believe the only player that we'll sign this window is we'll get Evan Ferguson on deadline day. Because we'll have exhausted all of our options. John Durán doesn't come to West Ham. I just don't see it. I'll come back to that in a moment. I think Evan Ferguson will have a lot to prove. He's injury prone, but do you care a loan signing on January? If he plays 6-7 good games, we'll have Jared Bowen back in 2 games anyway. He'll probably play up front. It doesn't really matter if he plays only half a dozen games. I'm not before you jump in, James. I'll say it ain't perfect. I know it's far from perfect. Yeah. You ain't going to get a perfect January transfer window, but at least this way we're building for next summer and we'd get someone in the door.
Yeah, but I just don't feel, I don't know about any of you boys, but I think we have to act now in getting some
players. Why? What are we fighting for?
Because there's no
this
guarantee.
Season?
I just
what
want
are
to
we fighting for?
There's no guarantee that we're going to get every single player right in the summer window coming up.
Well, no. I agree with that, but what are we fighting for this season? We're not going to get relegated. Because there's literally 3 worse teams than us. if
Right.
not 4. But so we're not going to get relegated. We're going to pick up points because, as Jay's pointed out, Bowen's going to be back early Feb. So ultimately, we'll have enough to survive this season. If I'm West Ham, I'm not spending. Even if I'm at any club, in January windows, they always charge more for players because they know it's a desperation move. They know it. So what are we fighting for? If we were still in the FA Cup, fair enough. I'd say sign this player, sign that player, but we're not. It's simple as that. We're not.
We can't go in and integrate another 9 players in the summer. Can't do it. Right. So
we're not going to spend on 9 players, are we? Realistically.
Well, let's have it right. If you go through it, it's roughly the same again. We're going to need Danny Ings is gone. Antonio's out of contract. Cresswell will be gone. That's 3. Fabianski, he'll be gone. So that's 4. You got a midfield 3 that's fucking shit in Guido.
Why do we need a replacement on Cresswell?
We need a replacement.
Emerson. You've got
we've got Emerson. Yeah, but I don't even think Emerson's going to be here, mate. If you want me to be real, if someone wants to have a bet on me right now, I'll take a punt. I don't think Emerson's here in the summer. I've got a feeling he's out the door, and I think West Ham are looking at Scholes to come in and be the replacement for Emerson, like long term. Do you know what I'm saying? That's why Scholes is being upgraded to the team right now. The issue is that, and I see someone say there, bid 57 million for Delap. Delap's a fucking like
57 million for Delap. Are you taking the piss?
Yeah, but is 57 million for Durán right?
I would say he's proven himself more than fucking Liam Delap. Jesus Christ.
I wouldn't. I just feel, I don't know about you boys, but I feel this is a phantom bid that's come completely out of nowhere again. Like it's like, and I see a Villa fan in there, Aaron Morris, saying, we all know Aaron, he ain't coming because he's a phantom fucking bid. So I know you're a Villa fan, but even we know he ain't coming to fucking to West Ham. The problem is that why are we knocking out 57 million pound bids when we know they're going to get rejected? Like, I'm not being funny.
Not really, because I think 70 million isn't that far off of 50 with 57. Because 57's what? That's the official opening bid. We're not going to go, oh, by the way, we're going to go straight in at the correct price, are we? We're going to go, all right, we'll start at 57. We're showing some intent. There's still 10 days, 11 days left of the window. We're basically saying, look, we're still interested in the same player. Last time we wouldn't go past 40 million. We're going 17 million ahead of what we did previous window. So we acknowledge that you have done a new contract, and we acknowledge that Durán has a good start of the season. However, we also acknowledge that Durán is not playing as many minutes as he wants to. Therefore, is Durán as happy as he was when he signed that contract? No, because they've now signed an additional player, meaning that his minutes will now be pulled back even further. So West Ham are acknowledging all of those points of views, and they're going, here's our starting bid. Now, the bigger question will be, okay, Villa might have gone, all right, we're declining this bid.
Right.
But if the player literally goes, I want to go because you promised me more minutes when I signed this contract and you've failed to deliver, then the player could still have a part in this. And yes, okay, 57 won't be accepted, but we might not have to go past 70. They might go, we will accept 65 because the player is not happy here.
I don't think they will.
You don't know that. No, I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying they will. But
I would have a punt.
We would be stupid to go straight in at 70 million because we're basically then going, we're super desperate.
Well, we're desperate now at 57.
Are we? Are we desperate? Because if we were that desperate, we wouldn't have announced that Bowen's coming back in a couple of games' time.
We're rushing Bowen back. I'll tell you that now. That
probably, but ultimately, at the end of the day, how I see it is, we're not in a relegation fight, so we're not desperate to the point where we had to put in a bid straight away. If we went in straight away at 70 million, we're literally panicking. We're panicking.
I disagree on this massively because it's like I just said earlier on. If you've got an house that's worth $500,000 and someone comes in and says, "Well, I'll give you 300 grand for the house," you're going to say no. Villa, as I've always said this, I said it in the summer, and I'll say it again. Villa hold all the cards and all the keys to the door to John Durán. They've got him under lock and key. They've got him nailed down to a new deal. If Aston Villa Football Club wants 70 million pounds for John Durán, Aston Villa Football Club will wait for that 70 million. Right? They haven't got to sell him. Do you know what I'm saying?
And they will, but we're not going to go in first bid at 70. We're testing their resolve. It's not like last time where we literally went, oh, we're going to put 30 million on a 50 million pound player. We literally went 20 million behind. This time we're 13 million off of their initial alleged reach, anyways. And ultimately, if you actually think about it, you could even equal, all right, it's the new contract that means he's 70 million. But really, it just means that they got Malin for free because he cost about 20 million.
You know the reason
we
why?
paid for 2 of their strikers.
Yeah, you know the reason why we've upped the bid, don't you? Because West Ham are trying to get rid of Lewis Guilherme. That's what it is.
Yeah,
They're going to use the money from Guilherme.
Not really, because that's 25 million, and allegedly we were going to buy Soler. If we were going to spend Soler, that's already 20, 30 million, whatever he is. So that's ultimately enough money to go. We're essentially saying we're not going to put that loan into a permanent deal today or this window. We're basically saying scrap that until the summer. We want to prioritize a striker. That's what they've gone with, basically.
I'm going to get Jay to speak, yeah. But on this one,
Jay's enjoyed him time.
right. On this one, I completely disagree on this one because I do feel that Potter can't do anything with the team he's currently got, and I think if we're going to, but it is right now.
But right now, not his team.
But right now he's working with shit, and he needs help.
Yeah, but how many players is he going to buy in this window? 1 or 2? It's still not his team, right?
Yeah, but if you bring in a centre forward and a centre half, it changes the whole dynamic of West Ham.
No, it doesn't. We still have the same defenders that can't defend.
No, chance.
You still have Edson Alvarez that loves getting a yellow card over stupid tackles.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, if you've got a centre forward up front, and someone said it the other day, if you've got a focal point up front, it takes the weight off the midfield and defence. You can't keep going with strikerless fucking attacks.
Okay, so I mean? How did that go? How did that go for Kudus the other night?
Kudus the other night, right? I'll say this right now. Yeah, he gets man marked out the game. What's West Ham got?
Yeah, what's going to happen if we get Durán? Then he's going to get man marked out of the game. It's the same if Bowen came back. He's going to get man marked.
Jay,
you can't expect 1 or 2 players to change our whole transformation within 3 games of Potter's reign. It's just not possible.
But then you can't waste 5 months with the same shit that you ain't going to have here in the summer, either.
Well, some of that shit is going to be there past summer, and some of that shit might also come back from loans. And people I'm looking at there is someone like. Oh God, it's going to be bad if I've forgotten his name now. Defender on loan. Oh,
not Jesus, a fucking Aguerd.
Yeah, that's that. Thank you. That's the one.
Go away, Clive. Go away.
But, like, if you think about it, we spent 100 million last window on defenders. Before that, we spent another 40, 50 mil on defenders the season before. We're not going to be spending money on defenders. We have to accept that any rebuild is not going to be 1 window. It's going to be 3 or 4 windows. And that's including winter windows.
Right.
So whatever we change, it's going to be at maximum, you're going to sign 5 players at best in this summer. At best, 5.
I disagree on that one.
Lads, I've been letting you guys cook because I've been trying to keep an eye on Aaron Morris in the chat. Like, Aaron Morris, first of all, welcome to a West Ham stream. Bro, like, anyone else in chat, if you're not aware, Aaron Morris is desperate to tell you that they signed Malin as a right winger, by the way. Relax, bro. Like, we know, and here's my stance on this. It will be Sullivan's worst nightmare if John Durán then threw his toys out of pram and actually said that he wanted to come to West Ham and then Villa actually negotiated with us. This is not a real bid, in my opinion. Don't worry, Aaron Morris. We're aware he's not coming to us. You can chill, you can relax, and you can enjoy the rest of your Monday. You're absolutely fine. It's genuinely Sullivan's worst nightmare that he could have to shell out 60, 70 million quid in this window. There is absolutely zero chance because then he's got a week to, as we've said, he knows he could probably sell Lewis Guilherme for 25 million quid in this window, which covers 25 of the, let's say we managed to somehow in this mythical land of Aaron Morris's nightmares, we somehow managed to agree like a 65 million pound fee for John Durán. Then he's still got 40 million quid to find, which we weren't spending anyway. I still maintain we were never going to spend 40 mil.
So you don't think we were going to buy Soler this window?
No, he wouldn't be 40 million quid anyway. He was never going to be 40 million quid.
It was a guaranteed 20 or 30, right?
And I'm sure they
27.
would
Yeah.
want to shift him. I think we would probably get that done below
Right, so
20.
all right, yeah, for sure. Let's say, for argument's sake, we spent 20 mil for him. So we had 20 million in the pocket. We sell Guilherme, that gets us to 45, and then let's say we agree at 65. But let's be honest, about 10 million is going to be add-ons. So we just need to fund 10 mil. I don't actually think this is much of a phantom bid. As much as I don't like Sullivan, I actually don't think this is as much of a phantom bid as you think, because even Potter is interested in Durán. We know Potter likes him. We also know our previous manager liked him, or well, Steidten liked him, one or the other. But regardless, we know that Potter also likes him. So therefore, I think if Potter has come in and said he wants to have final say on transfers or whatever it might be, as weak a percentage of that could be, I genuinely think this isn't as much of a phantom bid as you think. I think the summer window was more of a phantom bid because we refused to go over 40 mil for a player that we could have now spent 7 mil than our initial bid on.
I think it's 100% a phantom bid. 1 minute, people are saying basically we've got no fucking money, right? We can't spend no money, and then he goes and drops 57 million all of a sudden. For me, it feels more of a phantom bid than it's ever felt. Do you know what I mean? I understand what someone's saying in the chat. Villa owners are saying 100 million. Yeah, Duran's not worth 100 million, mate. Simple as that. Like,
oh yeah, no,
he's not an 100 million pound player. Do you know what I mean? He sits on their
not.
bench, right? Because if he was a 100 million pound player, he'd be starting for Aston Villa. So he's not an 100 million pound player. Apparently, they will accept 70 million for him. That's what it is. Now, if he's your guy, you act like a big club and you go and get him. I just don't believe. Like, what are you gaining by offering 57 million? That's the question that needs to be asked. Is what are you trying to do? What are you going to think Villa are going to buckle under 57 million? They're not. They're not going to do it because, as I say, he signed a new deal in the summer, right? We fucked about in the summer. They got hold of him. They convinced him to stay, and now they hold all the keys and say, you know what, we're going to wait until someone pays the money that we want. And they haven't got to sell him to us, man. Do you know what I mean? They haven't got, like, he could go anywhere.
They haven't, but an unhappy squad can deride what Villa have ultimately, and I think they're going down that route, and I think they've gone down that route by buying another striker. They have gone down that route. At the end of the day, Emery doesn't like changing his formations or changing his team setup too much. He doesn't, and he's not even done that even with the Champions League this season. He has kept his squad very similar. He's played Durán more than he wanted to at the beginning part of the season, and the dividends for Villa, because they've now ultimately played a binder by getting the player and the agent to agree to a new contract. But now you're going to have a situation where the player isn't as happy. He's only had 4 starts this season, but he's scored more goals across all competitions than Watkins has in less minutes. He's younger than Watkins. You could argue he could end up better than Watkins.
Again, right? Fucking amount of times if Lewis Gear, when we heard
would you say Ollie Watkins is a 100 million pound player?
I would say he's put performances in for Villa and even for England to a point where he could reach that level.
Yeah, but Ollie Watkins is 29 years old.
Right.
Durán is 21. Do you see what I'm saying? For 70 million, that could end up being a blinder in 3, 4, 5 years' time for us. And at that point, Durán still wouldn't have hit his peak.
Listen, at the end of the day, it's not about John Durán. It's about the bid in general.
I don't think it's that bid.
If you're putting in 57 mil and you know full well that there's other targets out there that you could get for less, right? It just feels like fucking David, man.
No, because there's no point. There's no point.
Honestly, I disagree on that.
Jonathan David, I love him, but sign him in the summer. What's the point now?
Because the reason is
they are talking behind the scenes. For all we know, but there's just no point signing a player when our season is
there is no chance.
For.
I'm going to say this: there is absolutely no chance in a month of fucking Sundays that West Ham are going to go and drop 70 million on John Durán and then sign Jonathan David and Angel Gomez in the summer. I'm not on crack, right? I know that is not going to happen. Yeah. I mean, I am very much sober and very much off no drugs. So listen, can we keep chatting shit? at the end of the day, you are not going to go and sign Jonathan David and John Durán in the same side. This is West Ham United Football Club. This is David Sullivan we're talking about here, right? Let's not fucking kid ourselves for 1 second. Do you know what I mean? So, come on. Like, for me, Jonathan David's sitting there, right? You go and pay the money, you get him out the fucking club. I don't know about you, Jay, but for me, it feels like a phantom bid for me, but...
Yeah, Aaron Morris is just telling us how it is, lads. I'm just keeping an eye on him in chat. Aaron, bro, you keep telling me that you're not worried, yet you keep trying to remind us of stuff that we already know. Like, do you know what I mean? I've said the way that I would do it. I don't think we're getting John Durán. I don't think that 57 million is doable. I still go all out for pre-contracts for the Lille duo, David and Gomez. I get a loan. Everyone's going to... I know that when I say, like, Evan Ferguson, it ain't glamorous. It ain't the one that everyone wants. But just get through to the end of the season. Get someone in who can maybe score a few goals and build for next year.
Jay, give me a figure of what you think's fair for Jonathan David and Angel Gomez right now.
I think probably 20 mil each. But then you've got to give them the money that you're going to give them on a pre-contract from any club. Hence, I would just go for the pre-contract. Because personally... just very quickly, like, they know that they can hold out until their contracts expire to the end of the season. They're going to have a ton of offers, which is why I would go big to try and get them signed before the end of the summer, and then I would try and get a fee agreed with them.
Genuine question. Where the fuck would you play Angel Gomez?
In midfield.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And who are you taking out then?
You can
Guido
take
Rodriguez.
Yeah, 100%. Fucking Alvarez even.
But do you see what I mean? Like, what's the point in paying 20 million for a player that's probably not going to be starting in our team before now in the summer?
Does Angel Gomez come in this side right now and start? Yes or no?
No.
Well, you're on drugs then. You're on a wind-up.
I was going to say, he definitely does.
You're on a fucking wind-up.
No. Right. Would I start him over the players we have? Yes, 100%. Do I actually think he would start? No. Genuinely, no.
Why?
I said what I said. Because I think what Lille are doing is very different to what we are doing. I think if you want to build a rapport, as much as I don't want it to be the case, I think once we have every player fit back where they should be, I've got a weird feeling we're going to have bloody yellow card maestro fucking Alvarez at the back with Souček, as much as I don't want it. And then you could... Rodriguez would be there as a bench option. So what's the point in having another salary player in Gomez? Because let's be honest, Gomez's salary is what, 100k a week plus?
Nah, no chance. Gomez? Yeah, I will search it right now. Like, it's definitely 100
He wouldn't be far off. He wouldn't be far off.
Right, let's have a look. Angel Gomez. Right, are you coming to West Ham?
He must be at 80. He must be at 80.
Right, he earns 676,000 a year. So whatever that is, it works out 13 grand a week.
13? No, that's not accurate. That's not accurate.
It's predicted to go up between 800 and 1.2. Look, listen, mate, I've gone to fucking Google, lad, right? So look, there you go. Read that. Read it and weep. Do you know what I mean?
I'm looking it up. There's no way his contract's 13 grand a week.
Wow.
Well, either way, he wouldn't be coming to West Ham for 13 grand a week. I'll tell you
that
for free.
Let's not lie. I mean, amount of fucking liars out there that I've heard. Do you know what I'm saying? But there you go. He's on 13 bags a week.
Jesus Christ, I weigh 20 kg more than him apparently as well. Fucking hell.
He's about
Jesus Christ.
6, though.
He's my height. He's my height and I weigh 20 kg more.
Tell you what,
I'm worried about. I just saw that
mate, if you can get the money, you can get it. I think Gomez was injured why he ain't been starting for Lille, but 100% starts for West Ham, no question. Yeah, I agree with you, mate, 100%. I really do on that. Clive, what do you make of this thing with Steidten and obviously Cole Macaulay, is it? Yeah. What are you saying, Clive?
I mean, they're two different people, really. I know that's stating the obvious. I don't want to sound like I don't want to sound like that fella. What is it, Will Buxton off of Drive to Survive? But Steidten's the sort of person that, I think they've got two different ideologies of the way they would look for players. I think one is more computer based, looks for the sort of intelligence side of it. It looks more towards the aspects of, right, what is this player going to offer? What are their contributions on the pitch? He'll look at the stats in a different way. I think Steidten's one of those sort of people that he's going to go watch players. I think that's the difference between the two.
Sorry, razors kill me, mate. Honestly,
universal credit. So I think realistically, I don't necessarily think this is Steidten out of the club. Weirdly enough, I guess is where I'm going with that. I think they've got two different ways. Do I think this pushes Steidten out of being close proximity of the first team as he was in the first half of the season? Yeah, it pushes him further out.
Yeah,
but I don't think this pushes him fully out the door. I still think Steidten has a part to play. But what that looks like, I don't know. Obviously, we know that Macaulay is history with Potter. But I just think the way they look at the players is very different between Macaulay and Steidten. I think Steidten's not as... how do I put it? Macaulay's more like Moneyball. That's how I'd put it.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of, if anyone's seen the movie Moneyball, it reminds me of that. It's very much stat focused on a computer, very nerdy, very like specific to certain things. Do I think that could create a conflict with Steidten if Steidten stays? Hell yes, because if they can't agree on a player, then we've got too many chefs in one kitchen, which we already did.
But have we got that now though, to a point with him? Because he has been vocal. I said to someone earlier on, funny enough, I said in a space of 1 year we've had 3 different managers.
Yeah, but I mean, we've also had 2 directors of football with Rob Newman in a slightly different role, and then we've had Tim Steidten. So it's hard to really judge whether you could argue Steidten's the issue, but you could also argue, is it because everything else is a mess? Is Steidten actually the issue? I don't know. It's such a hard one to say, because you could argue that what Rob Newman did in his previous club was good. What he did at West Ham, not so fantastic, I guess. You could say the same about Steidten. So
it's a hard job to do, isn't it? It's a very hard job to do when you're working with Sullivan. Is the thing to like balance the debate. Like, it is a very, very tough job. And you look at the hand they're dealt dealing with Sullivan. Sorry, Clive. You look at the hand they're dealt dealing with Sullivan. They get hamstrung. They get dragged from pillar to post. It is difficult to do. Just to give them a little.
Yeah. Do you think he got through under the bus? Do you think he got honestly through under the bus? Used to.
Yeah.
A bit. Yeah.
If you actually look at it, if you actually think about it, Steidten only came 12 months ago.
18.
Before that, you had. Was it 18?
Straight after Prague,
wasn't it? Yes. And then what? Rob Newman only had 12 months. Is that really enough time for any person in that role to really build what they're trying to build?
The only issue
I don't think it is.
The only issue with Steidten with me is I look at him and I think people were telling me this for a long time. And the thing is with me, I do listen to other people and sort of hear what they've got to say. And many people were saying he's a PR merchant. He's just like likes to be his face in front of the camera all the time. And listen, when I look at the signings that he's made, if you go through the signings that are actually his, right, they haven't really worked out. Lewis Guilherme hasn't worked out. Füllkrug's been a bit of a nightmare. Yeah. And the thing is with the Füllkrug one is that if West Ham, if you don't buy Guilherme, you get John Durán. That's the way I look at it.
But was that Steidten's fault?
When you're going around Brazil, when you're going to Brazil 3 times, like trips to Brazil, and you're coming back with no one. And listen, I remember it back in the January last year. We was linked with Hugo Ekitike from PSG. Yeah, and
I'm not a fan of him either.
Well, neither were we. That's why we didn't sign him. But but he was there. He was available, and we didn't bother. Do you know what I'm saying? And for me, and this is my own personal opinion, I think you had to bring someone back from Brazil, because if you go somewhere 3 times and you still can't find anything you're looking for, then what are you doing out there other than looking at brasses? Do you know what I mean? 'Cause
I don't even necessarily think. I think we've been a bit harsh on Guilherme because ultimately, has he really had the chance to
It's
fully
not
prove
him.
himself? He's only
Listen,
18.
Yeah, it's not him, but he shouldn't be here right now. It's as simple as that.
Why not?
We don't need a right winger who's not going to play games. What are we learning with that? Like you
No, I
got
mean, if
Kudus, you
we
got
had a big
Bowen.
enough squad, we could have loaned him out. But like the thing is, we need to bring in younger players.
I don't
Like
think we
there's all
need
these
to.
talks. There's all these talks about signing players at like 29 again, and I'm like, well, what's the point? In about 2 years' time, where's the dividend in that? We're
Mm.
we're going to have to sell them on for about 10 million versus whatever we're paying for them. We're not making any money on them. We're average. We've got the second highest average age in the Premier League for players. Like that shows that we need younger players, and yet we seem to be bringing in younger players and then selling them 6 months on. What's the point? That's not giving them a chance.
What's Clive's thoughts on the Fulkrug sign? He's 31.
Wrong signing. I said this from the beginning, but it was because we were too scared to piss off Antonio again. That's the truth. And I don't care what anyone says in that. If you actually look at it, Fulkrug's done. I don't want to badmouth someone who's had a great career at West Ham, and I don't want to badmouth someone who's had a significant accident. But in a weird way, it's played the club's hand early because we knew he had a year left. We're basically toeing around, going, oh, we don't want to sign a player that's going to make Antonio feel bad, this, that, and the other. Antonio scored 1 goal. Fulkrug scored 2. And Fulkrug's hardly played in comparison this season. But ultimately, was Fulkrug the right signing? God, no. He had injuries. He had injuries already at Dortmund, and we still went for him. Again, you don't get the dividend on a player, and again, it was a short-term vision. Just like Danny Ings, we signed a 30-plus-year-old striker in Danny Ings when we signed him. We signed a 30-plus-year-old striker in Fulkrug. Again, why are we signing players that are 30-plus?
The striker thing, and I'm going to let Jay sort of land on anything he wants to say, yeah? The striker thing irritates me because when you've got a 31-year-old Fulkrug, 34-year-old Mikel Antonio, and a 33-year-old Danny Ings, it is quite taking the piss out of West Ham to a point that we've got no striker under the age of 30. Do you know what I mean? At the club. I look at the summer window and I look at the way that sort of was constructed, and so many of the boys, shout out to so many of the boys on the spaces on X, they all said the same thing. These are individual signings, but these don't fit the style that we're trying to play under Lopetegui. Shout out to one man, right? I hope he's listening. Rob, he knows who he is. Me and him was having many debates on spaces, and he was telling me, James, this ain't going to work with this sort of the way that we're trying to play, crossing balls into literally no one to a point with people who can't cross. So, it is what it is. Jay, anything else you want to add on, mate?
I think what I would say is this is why Steidten brings himself in for a lot of criticism. And this is why you've got to look at it in a balanced way. People just get their agendas. They get someone in their crosshairs and they will not listen to any other opinion. Whereas I looked at Steidten, where I've gone, originally I thought he was going to be great, and I thought he was going to be absolutely superb for West Ham, and he does some of the right things. But then when he gets his chance to actually build a squad in his name in the summer, there's no real pattern to what he's trying to create. Like, you end up leaving the striker situation as it's left, where you can park Antonio for a second, similar to Clive. Like, you can't really say much about what's happened. It's a complete freak accident. But you've got 2 strikers who are beyond 30 and towards the end of their careers. You look at the defender situation, where we started the season with 3 centre-backs, one of whom is very injury-prone, one of whom we overpaid for. I don't have anything necessarily bad to say about Kilman, but we definitely overpaid for him. And Mavropanos, who is definitely not good enough. How can you go into the season with your strikers in a mess, your centre-backs in a mess, yet you've spent nearly £150 million? So you have to look at the proof is in the pudding, and you have to look at that and go, this is why he brings himself in for so much criticism.
Just so you know, Villa have just officially rejected the bid, which we already knew was going to get rejected, but it's just come through as an official rejection.
Oh, Aaron Morris, mate, you can relax. Honestly, your nightmares are not coming through. They're not happening tonight. Again, keep telling everyone in chat that you're not worried, Aaron Morris. We weren't aware if you were worried or not.
But seriously, like I've just put in the chat about Scamacca, for instance. We had a striker who was
hold on. It's breaking
regardless
news.
if Scamacca was right.
It's breaking news. That is Sullivan at
Uh,
currently right now with his fucking bid. God.
Look, we had a striker that was under 30 with Skamaka. Now, I understand Skamaka was a bit lazy, this, that, and the other, but this was under one manager. And we don't know if things could change. You could argue that Paquette has been lazy in games that he's played in, all this, that, and the other. We still sold our only striker who has been under 30 in the last 5 years. And he still scored goals for us, regardless. And instead, we've ended up in a situation where we panic bought Ings. It was already, 31 when we signed him?
He was.
I think he was 29 when we signed him, but about to
Oh,
turn
really?
30. Yeah, I
30,
think so.
yeah. And this is what I mean. And what Skamaka, ultimately now, it was probably good that we did get rid of him because if I'm not mistaken, he's torn his ACL. So that would have gone down well with our injury record of strikers that we've had in the last 2 decades. But ultimately, he still was a relatively decent striker that we could still have had in our books. And instead, our average age of striker is about 32, 33 years old.
The only thing I will say is when Steidten come to the club back in 2023, summer 2023, that was the summer when we signed Mohamed Kudus, Alvarez, Mavropanos, and James Ward-Prowse. Yeah, remember it, clear as day up there. I don't forget nothing, right? And we sold Mr. Declan Rice, and basically Steidten had arrived. I would have assumed, and this is me making assumptions right now, people, so don't shoot me down in the chat or afterwards. But I would have assumed that Sullivan would have spoke to Steidten and turned around and said, well, I think we need to sort out the striker front because basically I can't pick a striker for love or money. Every time I pick one, he ends up shit. So it's over to you, Tim Steidten. And for me, the moment when you chase down Durán, you hunt him down, you say, right, he's the man that we want. And then you change profile, age, everything to go for a Nicholas Vorkrug, who's 31, will be 32 in February, so wish him happy fucking birthday. That to me just tells me all I need to know, right? If you can't get your first target, you go for your second, your third, right? And it felt like to me, we had one target, didn't get him, then we panicked. And listen, I'm being honest when I say that. And some, like even Glenn saying there, I agree, Jen. And that's what it is, right? That's what it is. Now, I'm only assuming that, but common sense in your head would tell me that we need to sort the striker front out because we've had, under Sullivan's reign, we've had over 100 strikers and about 6 of them have been decent. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what to say else on that. What we've got here? What's this? Press release. Antonio recovering well, so we feel no need to sign. Fucking get him back, mate. You know what I mean? Get him up top. Right. Anything else you want to add on, Jay? Anything else you want to say or discuss?
Not really. God, I can't wait for this January to be over. I really can't. Yeah. It's so painful, isn't it? It's the same dance every January. We know we need to improve in certain areas. We get linked with a load of players. We chuck a couple of phantom bids out there, and then it comes to deadline day, and it's We Tried FC. Like, I can't wait for January to be over. I can't wait for this season to be over. I can't wait to go to bed, honestly. Yeah, that's all I've got to
say. Don't go to bed. Clive, any final words from you before I let you go, mate?
I was just going to say, I just can't wait for this season to be over, to be quite honest with you, because this season was done for the moment we lost to Villa. That's the truth. What will be interesting is I actually think if we did sign Durán this window, the only way we will know how concrete of a chance we have is we face Villa before the window closes, no?
Yeah, next week, Sunday.
We do. Let's see if Durán plays.
Everyone, I'm going to say it right now. Get your fucking money on Durán to score against them. Not me. That's on the
well, that's what I mean. But genuinely speaking, I reckon if he's not in the squad or something, I reckon considering that would be quite close to the end of the window, I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up with him. It could be a weird one, but I think if we're only 13 million shy, you never know.
Never know, indeed. Right, Clive, I'm going to let you go. You take care, mate. Right. All the best to you. Peace. That has been Clive. You know what I mean? He's a regular to this channel, but he's a good guy. What I'm going to say is this. I do feel that this was a phantom bid for me. It really was. Like, I'm going to be honest. if you really want Durán, you pay the money that they want. And if that is 70 mil, you go and blast 70 mil out there and say, right, this is what it is. For me, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. But one thing I will say is this. This is where it comes full circle, Mr. Sullivan. Because now we know you've got 57 million to spend. And it works now in our favour because now we know that you can go out and buy people in this January window and we ain't skint. So hopefully, I don't think the John Durán deal's a goer. I really don't. He's been rejected. I don't think they come in again unless they're absolutely fucking stupid. So we now know that we've got 57 mil to go out and sort out a defence that is shit and a midfielder shit. And if we can nab a striker on loan, then great. But we do need bodies in here. I completely disagree with anyone who says wait till the summer. Because I feel that you're working with crap now. The league position still counts, and you've still got to at least make a sort of an attempt. Because otherwise, what's the point going and watching the games from now to the end of the season? Because we can't suffer what we had the other day. Because like that the other day was terrible, and we don't deserve that. We really don't. What's this? Don't worry, lads. Marathons will be back soon. We have so much to look forward to. Yeah, well, there you go, mate. You know what I mean? And that's it, really. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to E20 Zone TV. Goes a long way. Really helps us out. And we will see what happens. For me, John Durán is a non-starter for now. And, you know, the bid has failed. Like that. So there you go. But we haven't failed. We move on. And I will see you again in the next one.